Sometimes the people you trust the most, the ones you believe will protect your happiness, turn out to be the very ones who try to steal it. Imagine spending your whole life stepping aside for your sister, letting her borrow, ruin, and take credit for everything you worked for. But then, when it comes to the most important day of your life, your wedding, she tries to take that too. What would you do? Would you stay silent to keep the peace or finally draw the line? This is the story of how one bride decided enough was enough. I stepped into my bedroom and my whole body froze. My heart stopped for a second, then pounded so hard I thought it might burst. Standing in front of my full-length mirror was my younger sister, Clarissa, her slim figure draped in ivory satin that shimmered under the afternoon light streaming through the window, the one I had spent 3 long months searching for, the one that made my fiancé, Daniel, light up the moment I showed him the designer's sketch. But that wasn't all. Dangling from Clarissa's ears were my grandmother's diamond earrings, the heirlooms meant for me, the very ones Grandma Eleanor had promised would be mine when I walked down the aisle. Clarissa tilted her head, admiring her reflection in my mirror. She was so lost in her own little world that she didn't even notice me standing there. The satin slipped over her shoulders perfectly, but only because it was made for me. My voice came out low but sharp. "What are you doing with my wedding dress?" Her head snapped toward me, but instead of guilt flashing across her face, her lips curved into a smile. "Olivia, perfect timing," she said, smoothing her hands down the fabric like she owned it. "It looks better on me anyway. Mom agrees." Her words hit me like a punch. Behind me a floorboard creaked. I spun around and saw them, my parents standing in the doorway, hovering, watching. Their expressions a mix of discomfort and determination. They knew. Of course they knew. "Honey," my mom began, her voice soft, careful, like she was soothing a child on the verge of a tantrum. "You'll have the main wedding gown. Can't you just share this one time?" My dad nodded, waving a hand dismissively. "Your sister has always looked stunning in white." The air seemed to thicken around me, and in that moment, a flood of memories came rushing back. Clarissa borrowing my designer heels for a date and returning them scuffed beyond repair. My vintage purse coming back with red lipstick stains across the lining. The cashmere sweater I had saved 3 paychecks to buy, stretched so badly after her weekend trip that it never fit me again. And every time I swallowed my objections, every time I told myself, family comes first. But the worst memory hit me like a dagger, the Senator Graham styling job. I had been climbing the ladder as a stylist, working day and night to build my career. I had put together the perfect outfit for the senator's daughter, a look that could have launched me into the spotlight. But the night before the appointment, Clarissa begged to borrow the ensemble just for an hour. She swore nothing would happen. When she brought it back, a giant red wine stain bled across the custom jacket. My boss's face was stone cold when I delivered it anyway. "Strike one," she warned, her voice icy. "You can't afford many more." When I ran to my parents in tears, desperate for them to understand, their answer had been the same as always. "Accidents happen. She's your sister." But standing there now, watching Clarissa smirk in my dress with Grandma Eleanor's diamonds swinging from her ears, something inside me snapped. I stood straighter. My shoulders pulled back. My voice came out low and steady. "Take it off." The room went silent. My parents shifted uncomfortably. Clarissa's jaw dropped. For the first time in her life, she looked genuinely stunned that I had told her no. "You can't be serious," she scoffed, her voice rising. She gave a sharp laugh, but it sounded hollow. "Mom, tell her she's being ridiculous." Mom stepped toward me, palms out in her familiar, placating gesture. "Olivia, sweetie, there's no need to make this dramatic. Clarissa just wants to feel special too. Take it off," I repeated, my voice lower this time. "Now, or I'll call off the wedding." The threat landed like a hammer. Dad's face turned red, but when he looked into my eyes, whatever argument he had died in his throat. "Fine," Clarissa spat. "I didn't want your stupid dress anyway." Her fingers fumbled with the zipper, yanking at the delicate satin with a little too much force. I lunged forward, catching her wrist before she could tear it. "The earrings too," I said quietly. With exaggerated care, she unclipped them, dropping them into my palm hard enough to sting. The diamonds felt icy in my hand. Mom and Dad glared at me as Clarissa stormed out of the room in a flurry of fake tears and theatrical outrage. Their looks promised consequences for this small act of rebellion. but I just hung the dress back in my closet, smoothing the satin with trembling hands. For 27 years I had stepped aside. I had given up my space, my belongings, my peace, all in the name of keeping harmony. But staring at the dress, the one I had chosen, the one meant for me, I made a promise. Not anymore. This wedding was mine, and God help anyone who tried to take another piece of it. The next day, Daniel and I sat together on the couch, going over the last details. He dropped his notebook on the table and rubbed his temples. So that's it, he said with a smile. We're locked in on the honey lavender cake with buttercream frosting. I leaned back into the sofa, letting myself relax for a moment. Weeks of tastings, endless disagreements, it was finally settled. Daniel reached for my hand, his thumb stroking slow circles across my palm. 3 more weeks, Olivia, he said softly. Just 3 more weeks until you're Mrs. Olivia Hartman. The sound of the doorbell cut through his words. I frowned. We weren't expecting anyone. No calls, no texts. Daniel raised an eyebrow and stood to answer it. And then I heard them. My parents' voices floated into the living room. My mother's rapid-fire questions about our new sofa, her tone already sharp with disapproval. My dad's familiar grunts as he poked around, silently calculating how much we'd spent on our apartment. They hadn't called. They never called. They just showed up like ghosts you couldn't banish. Mom breezed into the living room, clutching a massive leather-bound binder I had never seen before. We brought the family wedding planner, she announced, already flipping it open. Dad trailed behind, his eyes sweeping over our space like an appraiser. We've made some adjustments, Mom said breezily, spreading the binder across our coffee table, shoving aside our own notes. Just small tweaks to make everything perfect. Daniel's fingers found mine again, squeezing gently, a silent anchor. Mom flipped to a page labeled Bridal Party and tapped a notation I had never seen before. We've added Clarissa as co-bride, she said matter-of-factly. She'll have a matching gown and coordinating jewelry. The world tilted sideways. Co-bride, I whispered. Daniel leaned forward, his jaw tight. There's no such thing as a co-bride. It's our wedding. Mom waved her hand as if brushing away a silly child. It's a new trend. Very European. It's not a trend, I said, my voice rising. And it's not happening. Dad cleared his throat, his tone heavy with authority. Olivia, be reasonable. Your sister has been looking forward to this. Looking forward to what? I snapped. My wedding. To sharing this special day, Mom corrected smoothly, though her smile had tightened. For a long moment no one spoke. My mother's pen hovered over her binder, ready to make more notes as if I were just a stubborn child refusing to eat her vegetables. Daniel's grip on my hand tightened. His jaw flexed, the vein in his temple pulsing. I could feel his patience straining like a thread pulled taut. There is no co-bride, he said finally, his voice calm but iron hard. Olivia is the bride. This is our wedding. End of discussion. Mom barely looked at him. Instead, she tilted her chin, her eyes sliding back to me. You've always had such a hard time sharing the spotlight, Olivia. This could be good for you. Think of it as growth. Growth. That word burned like acid in my throat. For years, every growth opportunity my parents handed me had meant sacrifice for Clarissa's benefit. Dad leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms. She's your sister. Blood comes before vows. Always has, always will. Daniel let out a sharp laugh. You've got to be kidding me. But I didn't laugh. I couldn't. The weight of their words pressed down on me like a boulder. I felt 14 again, standing on the porch in the pouring rain, waiting for Dad to pick me up from soccer practice, only for him to forget, because Clarissa had a last-minute dance recital. The pattern was so familiar it was almost boring. Clarissa wanted, Clarissa got. But this time, she wasn't just stealing a sweater or my professional reputation. She was trying to steal the biggest moment of my life. I straightened, drawing a slow breath. No, I said firmly. There will be no co-bride. If Clarissa wants a wedding, she can have her own. The room chilled instantly. Mom's smile turned brittle. Dad's eyes narrowed. Ungrateful, Dad muttered under his breath. Mom closed the binder with a snap. We'll revisit this later. You're just overwhelmed. Brides get emotional. With that, she stood, collecting her things with a brisk efficiency that told me the conversation wasn't over. It was just postponed until she could regroup and try again. The very next morning, I woke up to 3 new emails in my inbox. Subject line: Hartman Graham wedding updates. Sender: family wedding planner mom. I clicked the first one. We are thrilled to announce that the upcoming wedding will be a joint celebration of both our daughters, Olivia and Clarissa. Please join us in honoring both brides as they begin this exciting new chapter. The second email was worse. Clarissa will be walking down the aisle alongside Olivia, both escorted by their father. Bridesmaids will support both brides in a coordinated processional. The third email had an attachment: mock-ups of 2 nearly identical white gowns, labeled Bride A and Bride B. I couldn't breathe. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. A text from my cousin Emma: is this real? Are you seriously having a double wedding with Clarissa? Another from my college roommate Jenna: why didn't you tell me? Thought you hated sharing with her. And one more, this time from my boss: Olivia, please tell me this co-bride thing is a joke. Clients are already gossiping. Heat surged up my neck. My vision blurred. This wasn't just family drama anymore. It was public humiliation. Daniel emerged from the shower, towel around his waist, humming. One look at my face and he froze. What happened? Wordlessly, I handed him my laptop. He scrolled, his expression darkening with each email. Unbelievable, he muttered. They're trying to bulldoze you. Not just me, I whispered. Us. He shut the laptop with a decisive click. Then we fight back. The fight began with phone calls. I called my mother first. She answered on the second ring, voice syrupy sweet. Good morning, darling brides. There is only one bride, I said, my voice trembling with anger. Me. Olivia. You need to retract those emails. Her tone hardened instantly. Olivia, don't embarrass yourself. People love the idea. We've already had dozens of messages saying how beautiful it is that sisters would share a wedding day. They're lying to be polite, I snapped. Nobody thinks this is normal. From the background, I heard Clarissa's voice, smug and sing-song. Actually, everyone thinks it's iconic. Clarissa, I hissed. She grabbed the phone from Mom, her voice ringing loud and clear. Face it, Liv. You're not the star. You never were. This is our wedding now. My stomach flipped. My hand shook so badly I almost dropped the phone. Daniel took it from me. Listen carefully, he said, his voice low and lethal. If you don't send out a correction today, the only thing people will be attending is Olivia and I filing a restraining order. There was a beat of silence before Mom gasped. How dare you threaten family? Because family doesn't hijack weddings, Daniel shot back. He hung up. I wanted to collapse into his arms, but the phone kept buzzing. Text after text. Message after message. My relatives wanted answers, my coworkers wanted gossip, and Clarissa's friends, half strangers to me, were tagging me on social media in posts celebrating the most epic co-bride wedding of the year. It was like watching a car crash in slow motion, except the wreckage was my life. 2 days later, Daniel and I met with our venue coordinator. I hoped she'd bring clarity, maybe even laugh off the co-bride nonsense. Instead, her smile was strained. Your parents have been in touch, she admitted gently, avoiding my eyes. They've requested adjustments to accommodate a dual bridal entrance. Requested? I echoed, my voice cracking. Her hands twisted in her lap. They've already sent over the payment for the changes. Daniel slammed his hand on the table. That's fraud. This wedding is in Olivia's name. Any changes require her approval. The coordinator's eyes flicked nervously between us. Legally, yes. But you might want to address this quickly. They've been very persuasive. My blood boiled. They weren't just pushing boundaries anymore. They were erasing them. The fallout grew uglier by the day. At the salon, my stylist hesitated before trimming my hair. So, are you and your sister wearing your hair the same way? Or is one of you doing curls and the other updo? At the bakery, the manager asked, do you still want the lavender cake? Or should I prepare 2 smaller ones? Even the florist looked confused when I showed up for my appointment. Your mother told us to double the bouquets. 1 for each bride. Everywhere I turned, Clarissa's shadow stretched over me like a storm cloud. The whispers followed me, too. At work, coworkers whispered in the break room. At the gym, strangers gave me sympathetic looks. I had become a punchline. One night, Daniel and I sat on the couch surrounded by paperwork. Guest lists, vendor contracts, invoices. My head throbbed. This isn't sustainable, I whispered. They're not going to stop. Daniel studied me for a long moment. Then we stopped them. How? By taking back control. Legally, financially, socially. We draw a line they can't cross. His certainty was a lifeline, but I could still hear Clarissa's voice echoing in my head. This is our wedding now. And I realized something terrifying. She wasn't going to stop until she ruined everything, or until I stopped her first. The next morning, I woke to a new notification. Clarissa had posted on Instagram a photo of herself in a white dress, holding Grandma Eleanor's earrings up to her ear. The caption, "Countdown to our big day, ring sparkles, #cobrides, #double the love." Within an hour, the post had over 2,000 likes and a flood of comments. This is insane but amazing. 2 brides. Iconic. Hope Olivia's okay with this, lol. Can't wait for the drama. I threw my phone across the bed, tears stinging my eyes. Daniel picked it up, scrolled through the comments, and then looked at me with a steady, fierce expression. "Then it's settled," he said. "We don't just push back quietly. We fight fire with fire. If they want to play this out in public, we'll end it in public." And in that moment, I knew he was right. It was time to stop being the sister who always gave in. It was time to show everyone exactly who the real bride was. The plan began in Daniel's office late on a Wednesday night. Stacks of contracts littered his desk. Venue agreements, catering invoices, florist estimates. My fiancé's law degree, something I'd always admired but never needed until now, suddenly felt like a shield between me and the madness. Daniel tapped a page with his pen. "Here. The venue contract clearly states that all changes must be approved in writing by the bride and groom. Not parents. Not siblings. You and me. Period. So them paying for alterations is invalid." He leaned back in his chair, smirking grimly. "The venue is legally obligated to reverse every unauthorized change. Same goes for the florist, the bakery, the salon. We have grounds to sue if they don't comply." The words sue and family in the same sentence twisted my stomach. But when I pictured Clarissa strutting down the aisle in white beside me, smug smile plastered on her face, I felt something harder than guilt. Rage. "Do it," I whispered. The first shot was an email. Subject line, "Formal notice of unauthorized wedding alterations." Sender, Olivia Hartman and Daniel Graham. We sent it to every vendor and CC'd my parents. The wording was clinical, almost cold. "Any and all requests made by third parties without written consent from Olivia Hartman and Daniel Graham are null and void. Please confirm by end of day that no further unauthorized changes will be made." Responses trickled in within hours. The florist apologized profusely, promising to revert the orders. The bakery assured us the lavender cake was still intact. Even the venue coordinator, nervous though she sounded, confirmed our original plan would be honored. But then came the reply from my mother. "This email is inappropriate and disrespectful. You are embarrassing yourself in front of professionals. Clarissa is family, and her involvement is not unauthorized. It's a blessing. Stop this nonsense before you regret it." Attached was a PDF labeled Hartman Family Vision Board.pdf. Daniel opened it, and both of us just stared. Dozens of slides. Mood boards. Photos of twin brides, double arches of flowers, cakes split into mirrored halves. Every page had Olivia and Clarissa, written in ornate script. "This isn't a wedding," Daniel muttered. "It's a hostage situation." We knew my parents wouldn't back down quietly. But what we didn't anticipate was how quickly they escalated the war into the public arena. That weekend, Clarissa posted another Instagram photo. Her in a white silk robe, holding a champagne flute. Caption, "Finalizing details with mom today, 2 hearts, nothing like planning our dream wedding together. #double the love, #sisters forever." The comments flooded in. "This is the wildest wedding plot twist I've ever seen. Are they seriously co-brides? Poor Olivia, lol. Or lucky Olivia, depending on how you see it." I wanted to crawl out of my skin. Daniel wasn't rattled. We respond once. Publicly. Then we shut down the noise. So we crafted a statement together and posted it across our socials, even sending it to family via email. "We are aware of confusion caused by unauthorized messages suggesting a co-bride wedding. To be clear, Olivia Hartman and Daniel Graham are the sole bride and groom. There will be no second bride. Any claims to the contrary are false. Thank you for respecting our wishes. It was polite but firm. Final. Within minutes, my phone buzzed nonstop. Messages of support poured in. Coworkers, cousins, college friends, they all congratulated us on setting the record straight. But then came the backlash. A furious text from Mom. How dare you undermine us publicly? A voicemail from Dad. Family before outsiders. Always. You'll regret humiliating us like this. And worst of all, a string of mocking voice notes from Clarissa. Wow, Olivia, so defensive. Insecure much. Did you really need to tell the whole world you can't share? Everyone's laughing at you. Not me. You. I threw my phone onto the couch, trembling. Daniel wrapped an arm around me. They're unraveling. That's what happens when manipulators lose control. But I wasn't sure. From where I sat, it didn't feel like they were unraveling. It felt like they were just getting started. The family war exploded the following Sunday. We'd agreed reluctantly to attend a family meeting at my parents' house. Daniel warned me it would be a trap, but part of me still hoped for reason. When we arrived, nearly 20 relatives were already crammed into the living room. Aunts, uncles, cousins, even Grandma Eleanor's sister who lived 3 states away. At the center sat Clarissa, in another white dress, basking like a queen holding court. Finally, she said when I walked in, the diva herself. Mom clasped her hands together. Let's all be civil. This family has been through so much, and Olivia is just stressed. We can fix this. Fix what? I demanded. There is nothing to fix. Clarissa's not a bride. End of story. A murmur rippled through the room. My uncle cleared his throat. Olivia, be reasonable. She's your sister. Why not make it a joint celebration? It's only one day. One day that I've spent 2 years planning. I snapped. Clarissa smirked. And yet you're still so behind. If it weren't for me and Mom, nothing would be ready. The gall of it made me laugh sharp, humorless. Behind? I was ahead until you hijacked everything. Dad stood looming. Enough. Olivia, apologize to your sister. Daniel rose too, unflinching. She doesn't owe anyone here an apology. You owe her one. Gasps. Tension crackled. Apologize, Dad repeated, his voice thunderous. No, I said firmly, my voice shaking but steady. I will not apologize for wanting my own wedding. And if you can't accept that, then you're not welcome at all. The room erupted. Shouts. Protests. Relatives accusing me of being dramatic, selfish, cruel. A cousin yelled that I was destroying the family. Someone else muttered that Daniel had poisoned me. Through it all, Clarissa just sat there, smirking, enjoying every second of the spectacle. Finally, Daniel took my hand. We're done here. We walked out to a chorus of angry voices. But the silence in our car afterward felt heavier than all the shouting. The days that followed blurred together. Half my family cut contact, siding with my parents. Others texted support quietly, afraid to get dragged into the feud. Clarissa kept posting cryptic updates online, feeding the rumor mill. Then came the final blow. A letter from my parents' lawyer, delivered by certified mail. Dear Olivia, we regret that you have chosen to alienate yourself from your family. However, please be advised that substantial financial contributions have already been made toward your wedding. In light of your refusal to include Clarissa as co-bride, we are prepared to pursue reimbursement of all expenses. I stared at the letter, my chest tightening. They're suing me? Daniel scanned the page. No, it's a bluff. They know they have no legal claim, but they want to scare you. It worked. My hand shook so badly I could barely hold the paper, but Daniel's voice cut through the panic. We'll respond formally. We'll end this once and for all. That night, we drafted our counter letter. Your repeated attempts to alter and hijack our wedding have caused emotional distress, reputational harm, and financial disruption. Further interference will result in legal action, including but not limited to a restraining order and claims for damages. This is our final warning. We sent it via certified mail, CCing their attorney. It felt brutal, cold, final, but for the first time in weeks, I slept without nightmares. The next morning, I woke to a different kind of notification. Clarissa had posted a long, dramatic caption under a picture of herself in white lace. Some people can't handle when you shine. Some sisters can't celebrate love, they hoard it. But no matter what, I'll rise above the jealousy. Hashtag co-bride, hashtag family over everything. The comments were vicious. Strangers and family friends piled in, calling me bitter, selfish, toxic. But then, something unexpected happened. People who knew me, really knew me, began to push back. Emma, my cousin. This is Olivia's wedding. Stop twisting the truth. Jenna, my college roommate. Imagine trying to hijack your sister's wedding. Yikes. Even my boss chimed in, proud of Olivia for standing her ground. She deserves her day. The tide was turning. Slowly, Daniel looked at me across the breakfast table, pride softening his features. See? The truth cuts through eventually. I nodded, though my heart still pounded. The war wasn't over. But for the first time, I didn't feel like I was losing. I felt like I was finally fighting back. The morning of my wedding, I woke up with the kind of clarity I hadn't felt in months. Not joy, not exactly. More like a steel thread running through my chest. Today would be mine. Mine and Daniel's. No one, least of all Clarissa, was going to take it from me. The makeup artist arrived promptly at 7. My bridesmaids fluttered around, curling hair and pinning dresses. Laughter bubbled, tentative at first, then freer. For the first time in weeks, I caught glimpses of what this was supposed to feel like. But the reprieve didn't last. At 9:14 a.m., my phone lit up with a message from an unknown number and my stomach dropped. I showed Daniel, who had just stepped into the bridal suite to check on me. His jaw tightened. She's really going to try it. I should have known. My hands trembled against my silk robe. I thought, maybe after the letters, after everything, they'd finally back down. Daniel cupped my face. Hey, listen to me. She can show up in a full cathedral veil for all I care. You're my bride. No one else. And the moment she tries anything, we shut it down. I nodded, clinging to that steel thread inside me. The venue glowed like a dream when we arrived. Sunlight spilled across the garden, catching on ivory roses and strings of fairy lights. The lavender cake stood tall in the reception hall, untouched. Every detail I'd fought for, every battle won, was there. And then at 2:03 p.m. the chaos began. I was tucked into the bridal suite when a bridesmaid burst in wide-eyed. Olivia, you're not going to believe this. Clarissa was outside, in a full white gown. Not ivory, not blush, not even cream. Blinding, traditional, unmistakable bridal white. She posed on the venue steps, bouquet in hand, as though paparazzi were snapping her every move. Family swarmed her, cooing, snapping photos. My mother beamed at her side like she'd birthed a royal. She's really doing it, I whispered. One of my bridesmaids hissed. She looks ridiculous. But to the watching guests, half of whom had been spoon-fed Clarissa's co-bride fantasy for months, it didn't look ridiculous. It looked like reality. Minutes later, the venue coordinator rushed into my suite. Olivia? We have a situation. I know, I said flatly. She's insisting she's a co-bride. Some guests are confused. They're asking if it's a double ceremony. My chest burned. It's not. The coordinator looked torn. Would you like us to remove her? Every part of me screamed yes. But another voice, the one Clarissa had drilled into me my whole life, whispered that saying yes would make me the villain. The selfish sister. The destroyer of family peace. I closed my eyes. For once I ignored that voice. Yes, I said. Escort her out. Now. Didn't go smoothly. Clarissa shrieked as the coordinator and a security guard blocked her path to the aisle. You can't stop me. This is my wedding too. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Guests fumbled with their phones, recording. My mother's voice rang above the din. This is a family wedding. She belongs here. From inside the suite I heard it all. My heart thundered like a drum. Then Daniel appeared in the doorway. His tie was askew, his face flushed, but his eyes were steady. She's gone, he said simply. What do you mean gone? Security escorted her out to the parking lot. She tried to push past, but they held firm. She's screaming out there with your parents, but they're not letting her back in. The relief was so sharp it hurt. Tears stung my eyes. It's really over? Daniel gave a tired smile. It's over for her. Now it's our turn. The ceremony began 15 minutes late, but when I stepped onto the aisle, time seemed to hold its breath. Gasps echoed, but this time they were for me. For the bride. My gown shimmered, my bouquet trembled in my hands, and Daniel's smile at the altar steadied me like nothing else could. As I walked, I caught sight of the empty seats where my parents should have been. They'd stormed off with Clarissa, unwilling to watch unless their fantasy played out. The pain of their absence sliced deep, but it was clean, honest. No more illusions. I reached Daniel. He took my hand. The vows blurred through tears, the kiss tasted like freedom, and when the officiant declared us husband and wife, the cheer from our true supporters drowned out every echo of doubt. But Clarissa wasn't done. During the reception, just as the first course was being served, the double doors slammed open. Clarissa stormed in, makeup streaked, veil askew. My parents flanked her, faces twisted with fury. The room fell silent. She pointed at me, her voice shrill. "This isn't valid. This is fraud. You can't just erase me." I stood, my chair scraping back. "Get out." Her laugh was brittle. "You can't make me. Everyone here knows I deserve this just as much as you." "No," I said, my voice clear, ringing. "Everyone here knows the truth. This was never yours. It never will be." Murmurs of agreement rose from the guests. My bridesmaids stood. Daniel's groomsmen too. A wall of people between us and her. For the first time I saw doubt flicker across her face. My mother clutched her arm. "Don't listen to her, sweetheart. They're just jealous. They're trying to destroy us." But the crowd wasn't with them anymore. Phones recorded. Eyes narrowed. Family friends shook their heads in disgust. Finally, the venue manager stepped forward. "You need to leave. Now, or the police will be called." Clarissa's face crumpled. Not into tears, but into rage. "Fine," she screeched. "But you'll regret this, Olivia. You'll all regret this." And then she was gone. For good. The rest of the night felt surreal. We danced. We cut the lavender cake. We laughed until our cheeks ached. The joy felt hard-won, sharpened by everything it had survived. But beneath it all was the knowledge that something fundamental had shattered. When the music slowed and the crowd thinned, Daniel and I slipped outside into the cool night air. Stars pricked the sky. "Do you think they'll ever forgive me?" I whispered. Daniel pulled me close. "You don't need their forgiveness. You need your freedom. You need your freedom." I leaned into him, the weight of the day finally settling. "I think," I said softly, "this was the price of both." The fallout was immediate. Clarissa posted a rambling video online the next day, claiming she'd been robbed of her rightful place. The comments were brutal, not for me but for her. People finally saw the manipulation, the entitlement. Even those who once supported her turned away. My parents doubled down, disowning me publicly in a Facebook post that read more like a eulogy than a message. But by then I didn't flinch. Because for every family member who cut me off, another reached out in quiet solidarity. Cousins who'd stayed silent for fear of backlash. Aunts who whispered apologies. Friends who cheered my resolve. The fracture was permanent, but it revealed something I hadn't expected. A smaller circle, yes, but one that was real. Months later, I sometimes replay the chaos in my mind. The shrieks, the threats, the empty chairs. But I also replay the vows, the kiss, the laughter. And I know which parts matter. Clarissa will never stop spinning her stories. My parents will never stop choosing her illusions over my truth. But I walked down that aisle. I married the man I love. I claimed my day, my voice, my freedom. And no one, not even my sister in a stolen white gown, can take that away.